Government drops her economic, financial, social and cultural program for 2021 in Parliament with a financial envelope of 4,865 billion CFA francs to move the vision if given the green light by the country's lawmakers. Female entrepreneurs from Africa open discussions in Yaoundé on how to overcome social and financial hurdles that bar female entrepreneurship development and undermine their contribution in economic progress. World football legend Diego Armando Maradona is no more. The acrobatic football juggler died early this afternoon of heart attack 2 weeks after a hospital visit. Those are our top stories. Hello, and thanks for joining us on the 7:30 News. I am Ben Menopofong.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Thanks for joining us once again. And as I was announcing, the Prime Minister, head of government, was today at the National Assembly to present the government financial, economic, social and cultural program for 2021 before the lawmakers with an envelope of some 4,865 billion CFA francs with which to run that program once the new year begins. We shall be coming back to that story later in this newscast, but time for us to say the African female entrepreneurs have opened reflections in Yaoundé on how to overcome the hurdles that bar them from accessing funds that can take their businesses to the next level. The discussions that are taking place within the framework of the first African Forum for Female Entrepreneurs are focused on how to boost the growth rate of female-run businesses in a male-dominated context laden with restrictive cultures and traditions. Clarice Arey-Takang reports on the opening ceremony of the one-week event.
27% of African women are entrepreneurs. Though jobs and wealth are created through a vast display of skills, many businesses owned by women have a hard time becoming success stories. Chief amongst the killers is difficult access to funds.
Our traditional banking system doesn't have confidence in very small enterprises. So we are struggling. They need too much guarantees, and it's very complicated for women to have access.
Meeting at the first African Forum of Women Entrepreneurs, actors believe there is need to ensure that women are given the chance to excel in business by making capital available. Officials hold that acknowledging their economic potential is crucial. Building on it, therefore, requires putting in place the right strategies.
We have, especially in our region, different ways of raising money. It's just a way of helping them sort of guide how they will be using that money. These kind of ways of financing can be used. You know, in the market, for example, you have the women that every day they put money together and then at the end one will take that money. So this kind of action can be sort of organized, better organized to be more beneficial for all of them.
With experience and information sharing, more women entrepreneurs with thriving businesses is what they hope will become part of the rule and not the exception.
While Africa boasts of the highest female-run businesses in the world, women continue to face challenges that are unique to them in their business endeavors. From social to financial barriers, the hurdles to overcome on their road to success are massive. However, and as Constantine Baum reports, a good number of them are now turning these obstacles to opportunities.
Will be nothing without the woman. This is one of the economically active women entrepreneurs in the formal sector, and she is the CEO of her enterprise.
Created my company where I promote agriculture, real estate, and education. In our society, we think that women are weak. But I went beyond that with an objective to succeed.
Today, she recruits about 300 workers and spends almost 8.5 million francs CFA for salaries per month.
Parents must be aware that they don't succeed only as a civil servant. Parents should orientate their children in vocational training for their success.
The woman must have the capacities to manage her business. So I don't think that it's a problem of men, of gender.
For more women to operate out of the domestic market, measures to improve access to finance for women entrepreneurs need to be undertaken, as well as exposing more markets to them.
Cameroon's National Development Strategy document that spans from 2020 to 2030 lays particular emphasis on the promotion of employment and the integration of young people. While the government strives to meet this objective, it is taking measures to ensure that training in the various job-generating sectors are tailored to meet the needs of the job market. Luma Slim Davis explains how.
Economic growth, employment, and the insertion of youth into the mainstream of economic development activities constitute a big challenge in Cameroon's vision of becoming an emerging economy by 2035. In this area, the overall objective is to promote full and decent employment through the expansion and enhancement of job creation opportunities in the economy. The policy revolves around promoting employment in public investment projects, improving productivity, employment and incomes in rural areas, and the promotion of the migration from the informal to the formal sector. Focus is also to match training to employment needs and improving vocational integration system and regulating the labor market. Youths being the future flag bearers in the various sectors of economic development will therefore constitute a solid foundation base for durable economic development if given their proper role and position and the means and latitude to excel.
2 million Cameroonians suffer from bilharzia, while 10 million others are affected by intestinal worms. The figures were disclosed yesterday at Ayaz in the Nyong and Fumu division of the Central Region by the Secretary of State in the Ministry of Public Health, Halima Yato, during the 2020 National Deworming Campaign launch. Ewane Epole report.
The trainers'
chief
training
target
workshop
of the exercise.
Institute of Higher Education on Territorial Governance and Decentralization. It aimed at reinforcing the capacities of managers of central and decentralized services of the agency for the promotion of small and medium-sized enterprises, APME.
Work specifically in transformation and valorization of agricultural product.
For 3 days, participants were drilled on managing community development activities.
Be it cassava into gari, be it cocoa into chocolate. When they add value in any agricultural product, that's what we are working on for Littoral and Southwest.
This will help to create wealth for the development of municipalities in the country and the fight against hunger and poverty.
The government's economic, financial, social and cultural program for the year 2021 will be directed towards infrastructural development, the supply of special amenities and boosting the resilience of the economy of Cameroon. The program was made public today by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute during a plenary sitting of the National Assembly presided over by House Speaker Kavaye Jibril. The head of government disclosed that the program is based on a budget of 4,865 billion 200 million CFA francs. Star Building correspondent Christian Cheatam presents an overview of the 2021 program.
During his presentation, the Prime Minister said Cameroon's economic, financial, social and cultural program for 2021 will seek to create resilience and will be rolled out depending on the evolution of the COVID-19 pandemic. The program targets infrastructural development, especially in the domain of road construction, where the tarring of 423 kilometers of road across the country is on program. In the domain of water and energy, the 2021 program targets the construction of transport lines for energy from the Bini Awarak Hydroelectricity Dam and the start of reconstruction of the National Oil Refinery Sunara, amongst others. In the domain of transport, the restructuring of the national air carrier, Cameco, will be top on the agenda. In the domain of decentralization, the consolidation of the special status in the northwest and southwest is the lead item. Prime Minister Joseph Diongute said 2021 will also be marked by improvements in agriculture, the development of school infrastructures, the digitalization of procedures in the Justice Ministry, as well as for business creation, as well as the continuation of the 3-year emergency plan. Efforts will also be geared towards the completion of all AFCON projects. The Prime Minister said the economic, financial, social and cultural program for 2021 is based on a budget of 4,865.2 billion francs. Speaking about the 2020 campaign, Joseph Diongute explained that despite the disruptions caused by COVID-19, it was marked by the continuation of projects under the 3-year emergency plan, as well as the enhancement of the decentralization process.
On paper, the 2021 Economic, Financial, Social and Cultural Program of the government sounds very ambitious, especially given that it touches on most of the areas that Cameroonians have been expecting the government to work on to change lives and improve standards of living. The country's lawmakers have been reacting to it differently depending on how much it affects their respective constituencies. Their reactions are compiled in the following report with Esther Kmer.
The lofty development program for 2021 is diversely appreciated by the legislators.
The government has thought about the youth, and if they are going down to touch those who are willing to work, cultivate the land, that's a great idea.
He did an exercise that was in line with the actual context of things. I would like to appreciate the fact that he made sure that we were warned about all the difficulties.
The tarring and rehabilitation of roads, as well as water and energy offers, are considered worthwhile.
We have acute shortage of water, we have acute shortage of electricity. I feel very satisfied that the Prime Minister has touched on this.
I was impressed to hear that many roads will be rehabilitated and some will be tarred.
The refurbishing of Sonora is also applauded.
Sonora is the breadbasket of the whole nation, and we have really been a little disturbed that the work has not actually started.
Others remain skeptical about the Universal Health Coverage Plan.
No, because I have listened all these presentations, and he's saying the same thing he has said the 3 or 4 past years.
We think that concerning the expenditures, he didn't talk about the variation between 2020 and 2021.
That notwithstanding, the reconstruction of crisis-stricken regions is hailed.
We made mention of it. I think I felt reassured that once more the people of Muyuka subdivision will see their houses, will see their assets that they got destroyed, reconstructed.
A deeper appraisal of the economic and financial program will be made when the state budget of 4,865.2 billion CFA francs is examined.
Away from Parliament, let's talk gender issues as the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence has been launched in Yaoundé with a call for a global mobilization to mitigate the socio-economic consequences of COVID-19 on women and the girl child. The call came from the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Marie-Theresa Benaondua, who presided over the launch today, lamenting that some women and girls pay gender-based violence with their lives. Emmanuela Vernier reports on the things she heard and saw today at the launch.
They have come together from diverse backgrounds to preach against violence on women and girls. And for 16 days, they will be sensitizing all on the physical, psychological, as well as mental consequences of violence and why it must stop.
We have to give them psychosocial support. We can keep them when they are in danger in a safe space, giving them some funds for income-generating activities. And mostly we have to go through sensitizations.
The victims of all sorts of violence are speaking out. No other woman, according to them, or girl should go through what they experience. And so partnering with men to end violence on women and girls is ideal.
The
make sure young women are able to come out of this depressing situation and assume themselves the way they are supposed to be, the way they are meant to be, strong, powerful.
On the theme Orange the World, mobilize all necessary factors to fight against the socio-economic consequences of COVID-19 on women and girls, some 12 women have been offered sewing machines as a way to empower them.
Accordingly, women from the different walks of life in the Northwest region have vowed to speak out against the killing and the decapitation as a result of the crisis in the two English-speaking regions until the conflict is over. They raised their voices today in Bamenda during an ecumenical service to pray for peace in the country. From Bamenda, Mercy Kusi tells us more.
They are not raising any arms, but just their voices in this grand tournament of the continuous bloodshed in the northwest and southwest regions. These female traditional title holders of the northwest say it is high time everyone started speaking the language of peace.
We see children being murdered in classrooms. We think that the country is actually getting into chaos. So we are praying, those who are in the bushes, let them drop their guns.
We will not want our children to continue to die because we cannot more bear the pain.
We are the mothers. We are the one who have brought these children in our womb for 9 months. We cannot sit and wait that it will happen again before we talk. They were joined in this ecumenical service for peace by some of the region's female parliamentarians and the Director General of Camtel, Ya Judith Achidi, herself a traditional title holder who later on paid a courtesy visit to the DDR Center in Bamenda. There, she offered gifts to the ex-fighters and congratulated them for choosing peace while calling on their peers who are still carrying arms to follow their example.
The Cameroon Real Estate Corporation, SIC, and the UN Habitat have signed a 2 billion CFA francs partnership agreement for technical support of the institutional reforms in the Real Estate Corporation. The deal, signed by the Deputy Executive Director of UN Habitat, Victor Kisap, and the Director General of SIC, Amadou Sadouana, will be implemented for a period of 5 years to strengthen operations in low-cost housing and resource mobilization. Details with Gerard Nanjie Yambe.
This partnership agreement of 2 billion francs CFA between the United Nations Human Settlements Programme and the Cameroon Real Estate Company SIC has come to address the housing inadequacy in the country.
We want to make old cities of the country attractive, after which we shall be rehabilitating some degraded existing low-cost houses.
During the 5-year project, UN Habitat will assist SIC set up bankable projects to raise additional funds.
We also want to put in place a technological system to ensure a quality way of building low-cost houses for the good of our people.
40,000 new housing units are expected to be realized by 2035. This agreement comes after the MOU was signed on May 31st, 2019 in Nairobi between the UN Habitat and SIC.
Close to 700 files for change of grades in the higher education sector in Cameroon are under scrutiny by the Consultative Committee of University Institutions in the country. The applicants are expected to be promoted to various professorial ranks in the university hierarchy. Presiding over deliberations which started today in Yaoundé, the Minister of Higher Education and Chancellor of the Academic Orders, Professor Jacques Famendongo, called on members of the committee to be fair in their evaluation. Details with Baldwin Sama.
3 days of intense activity for the different members of the 43rd and 44th sessions for the Consultative Committee of University Institutions will equally have on the agenda the special recruitment of 2,000 university lecturers. The different members, alongside selected experts, will examine 679 files for change of grades in different categories in the higher education sector.
In 3 days, we have to examine the files of candidates, and then at least we should know who is able to succeed and to go further. We need to have publications. We need to teach. You need to participate in the development of your university.
While opening deliberations, the Minister of State, Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famendongo, called on the different participants to be objective for promotion to be based on merit. Attended by the different rectors and vice-chancellors of the different state universities, confidentiality should be their watchwords, as henceforth a period of 6 years is required to move from a lecturer to an associate professor.
Thanks for watching the news on the Cameroon Radio Television, the CRTV, as we beam live from Yaoundé. Cameroon's elections watchdog Lekam has again reassured that the regional council elections of December 6, 2020 will hold in the entire national territory in total fairness and transparency. The assurance was given in Yaoundé today by the chairman of the Electoral Board of Lekam, Eno Abrams Egbe, while chairing the 5th session as of right of the elections outfit. Ebenezer Akanga reports on the outcome of today's discussions.
The 5th session as of right of the Electoral Board of Lekam was to evaluate the level of preparations for the regional council elections.
All the electoral material is in place, and all the actors have been ready. Security measures have been taken, especially for the areas that are prone to security problems, notably the 5 regions: the northwest, southwest, the east, the far north, and to some measures the Adamawa area.
For the figures, 10,267 municipal councillors will vote in the first electoral college, while 14,045 traditional rulers will vote in the second electoral college, making a total of 24,312 voters. The municipal councillors will vote in 117 polling stations, while traditional rulers will vote in 157 polling stations, making a total of 274 polling stations. The color of the voters' card for municipal councillors is yellow, while that for traditional rulers is pink.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Faced with the current rise in the number of secondary school students tested positive of COVID-19 in the littoral and west regions, the Minister of Secondary Education has reiterated the strict respect of the barrier measures against the pandemic by both students and teachers. But why is COVID-19 becoming so rampant again in the school milieu despite the barrier measures? Yeah, that is what Baldwin Sama and Dr. Joseph Fonkam at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center should be explaining to us live from that center. Hello, Baldwin. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Ben Menopufong. I should say it's with mixed feelings that officials of the Ministry of Secondary Education got news for this increase in the number of students tested positive for COVID-19 in the littoral and west regions of the country. And that's why the minister had to come up with this press release insisting on the strict respect of most of these barrier measures on the different school campuses. We discussed that tonight with our guest, Dr. Joseph Fonkam. He is a virologist. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
As a virologist, most of these measures outlined by the Ministry of Secondary Education are the normal anti-COVID-19 barrier measures. How does this virus spread, especially in the school milieu?
Effectively, Baldwin, in this 4th operational phase for response to COVID-19 in Cameroon, we have a safe reopening of schools for children who are going back to schools. And to ensure that they are quite safe, we have a focal point for COVID-19 in each school. We have water and soap for every child coming in to wash his hands. And we also make sure every student has his face mask to make sure we should avoid new cases. But unfortunately, children are not respecting these measures, and we are now seeing new positive cases within the school milieu, be it secondary, primary, and even within the university. So in this context, there is need to come up a bit with a kind of repressive measure.
One of these measures outlined is the systematic screening of students on the different campuses. You talked a while ago, the other day, about children below 10 who have been tested positive for COVID-19. How should this screening be carried out?
Effectively, in terms of rapid screening, we have antigen testing that are quite available in every health district in Cameroon, including within those schools milieu. And these tests easily pick up those who are highly infectious. And we really call for parents, we really call for teachers, especially the focal point for COVID-19, to make sure they should adhere to this screening method, such that we should be able to isolate and protect those who are positive, and as well protect also the entire community as well.
Thank you so much for always being a guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam. You are a virologist. Most of these outlined measures by the Ministry of Secondary Education are scrupulously being respected by the students and teachers themselves, so as to be able to limit the spread of the coronavirus in the school milieu. Back to you, Ben Menopufong.
Thank you very much, Baldwin Sama, for those updates. Managers of central and devolved services of the Agency for the Promotion of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises have been drilled on community development techniques. For 3 days, they acquired knowledge on the promotion of the transformation of agricultural produce to add value and create wealth. Ewane Epole reports on the various modules of the workshop.
The health of school-age children is one of Cameroon government's preoccupation. This was reiterated by the Secretary of State in the Ministry of Public Health in charge of epidemics and pandemics, Alim Garga Hayatu, and the Secretary of State in the Ministry of Basic Education, Ashiri Kilo, while launching the 2020 National Deworming Campaign at Government Primary School Ayos in the Nyong and Fumo Division of the Central Region.
Our kids range from ages 4 to 15, and these are the most vulnerable kids for worms. So this exercise of deworming is really very good.
Figures indicate that 2 million Cameroonians suffer from bilharzia, while more than 10 million others are suffering from intestinal worms, with school-age children being the most affected. A donation of COVID-19 kits to schools in Ayos crowned the ceremony.
And as you must have corrected, that was Ewane Epole reporting, no doubt, but he was talking about the deworming of children in the Ayos area in the central region of Cameroon. We move over to the other story now. Orange Cameroon has rehabilitated and equipped a primary school and a health center in Mumur, a locality in the far north region of Cameroon. Rehabilitated with over 70 million CFA francs, more than 600 people will be benefiting from the two social structures whose rehabilitation, as I was saying, cost over 70 million CFA francs to Orange Cameroon. From Marwa, Henry Tato Ekambi reports.
The people of the locality of Mumu in the Mayokani division of the far north had seen their government primary school and health center move to an advanced stage of degradation. Patients were in distress and pupils were learning in worrisome conditions. Then the Orange Foundation Cameroon steps in with 70 million CFA francs, and the structures were metamorphosed into these magnificent structures.
We used to sit beton blocks because we did not have desks. We thank Orange Foundation for our desks that is helping us greatly to learn.
Orange has brought our hospital back to life, and they added new working materials.
This corporate social responsibility under Orange Foundation's project dubbed Orange Villages also funded the construction of boreholes near these buildings that were without such facilities before.
All of those to improve the school environment, to improve the quality of health care administered here at the health center. We also gave an important donation of equipment.
During this ceremony to inaugurate the renovated structures, the Secretary General at the Far North Governor's Office lauded the Orange Foundation for such an initiative that promotes development. The mobile telephone network Orange Cameroon, through its foundation put in place in 2009, introduced the project Orange Villages in 2014 with the mission to build a health healthcare center, a school and a water point in the heart of a village. Since 2014, 6 orange villages have benefited from these basic facilities, with Mumu being the 6th.
Football legend Diego Armando Maradona is dead. The 60-year-old former Argentina attacking midfielder and manager suffered a heart attack at his Buenos Aires home late this afternoon. Diego Maradona led his country to the 1990 World Cup final in Italy, where they lost 0-1 to Cameroon in the opening game. Benin Bumagana revisits the life and career of the football icon.
Diego Armando Maradona was arguably one of the greatest football players of all time, and to many, he was simply the best. For those who watch soccer in the 90s, they know of Maradona, a player who would often dribble past multiple opposing players on a run. His creativity and grandeur on the pitch and his eye for goal made of him a precocious talent and was nicknamed El Pibe de Oro, the Golden Boy. Maradona had suffered successful surgery on a brain clot earlier in November and was to be treated for alcohol dependency. He suffered a heart attack at his Buenos Aires home in Argentina. Maradona was captain when Argentina won the 1986 World Cup, scoring the famous Hand of God goal against England in the quarterfinals. Talk about Maradona in Cameroon is reminiscent of how Cameroon beat Argentina 1-0 in the 1990 World Cup. Argentina has declared 3 days of mourning for the legend. So far, Brazil legend Pelé has said, quote, "One day we'll kick a ball together in the sky above. Long live the legend, Viva la leyenda."
That's why we'll leave it for this evening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing